she just released her book. Um, and so we're excited. What's the name of the book again? It's what's the name of the book, Cindy?
Finding Your Place on the Seven Mountains.
That's it. Finding Your Place on the Seven Mountains.
She's
And
also written an incredible
children's
children's
book
series
series.
on the Seven Mountains as well, that I recommend. Fantastic.
Yeah, so good. So Cindy hears from the Lord, and she gets these, prophetic unctions, and she contacted Jill and and I heard it, and I'm like, wow, we need her to release that over KWA. Um, and so I want you guys to just receive this message. I just feel like it's a timely word. And thank you, Sarah, for putting up her book image up there in her phone.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Um,
Thank you.
so I love that. I love how every one of us are so encouraged and champion everyone else's success. And it warms my heart truly to see that. I love seeing you guys post each other's stuff and liking and reposting and leaving Amazon reviews for the author
Yes.
and buying their book. So it's such an amazing support system that we've got. And I truly, truly love that. There's so much respect that you guys are showing each other, love and honor. That will also come back to you tenfold. So,
Right.
um, Cindy, thank you so much for being with us today. Cindy's been running
Yeah.
with us at KWA for several years now, and she's a dear friend of ours, and we love her so much. And so, Cindy, take it away.
Woo.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm honored that you let me share. And wow, so I was praying, mostly what do you have to say for this new year? And the Lord gives me pictures often, and I'm more of a seer. So um, I had this picture of Jesus standing in Mandalorian armor. We're going back to Star Wars again, because Mandalorian is a Star Wars story that you have to have the Disney Channel to see it. But a Mandalorian is actually someone who has this armor that's pretty much indestructible. So it was like there's Jesus in this indestructible armor, and he had his arms up in victory with a smile, and he was just telling me, first of all, everything's going to be okay. I'm still victorious in this season of time. So that was in my mind. And so the next day I'm going for my walk, and I get another picture, and he's holding the helmet still in the armor, and the helmet has this white plume coming out of it, kind of like well, I should have brought over, but the writing kind of a plume. And I said, well, that doesn't really go together. That's kind of silly looking to have that feather sticking up out of Mandalorian armor, just ridiculous. And he kind of laughed, but then he took that feather out of the helmet and put it in my hand, and the feather became part of my arm. And I realized there was a feather in both arms. So it became, I don't know what you call those things in armor, but it went up my arm, on both sides. And I've realized he was telling me that he was giving me words to write that came from the helmet of salvation, that came from the mind of Christ. And I'll talk about that. Well, I talk about that now. I felt like that helmet part had two parts to it. Part of it is that when we have the mind of Christ, we're speaking from a new covenant perspective. And I think because, especially with the change that's happening in the church right now, we have to realize we're not coming from a Old Testament based on the law way of looking at the world, but rather a new covenant where Jesus not only died on the cross, but he was risen again. And we're living from the victorious side of the cross. So that was the new covenant. Our writing comes out of the new covenant. The second thing is that we have the helmet of salvation, and our words are going to release that the power of that helmet of salvation into other people. You know, our message needs to be one that encourages truth, and you know, the lies that the enemy has been feeding people can just be wiped away when truth comes in, right? So that was the other side of that helmet part of it, that it came out of his mind, out of his helmet. And then the next day I got a further picture and I felt like he was putting on me a Letterman's jacket. It was pink, and the arms were white, like a Letterman's jacket. It was sparkly, and I felt like he said it's sparkly because this is where I'm glorified. And I realized the arms were white because those white plumes were still going down my arms, right? But the pink, I'm like, why is it pink? And he said, because that represents that breastplate of righteousness. I know it's a jacket, but it represents those places in your life where you have been healed and now have the authority to release that healing into other people. So when a few minutes ago, she was talking about the broken sword and getting your new sword. That is exactly what happens when you take hold of your new sword. You gain authority over those areas of brokenness. And then when you're writing, that authority is what's going to come through and set people free, you know? So that's what was so cool. And the other thing about a Letterman's jacket, you either, you know, it's something that you earn, but there's also an aspect of being as the bride of Christ. He gives us his Letterman jacket. He's the one that ultimately earned the victory for us. And that's why we can have victory for it too. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I said, well, are there any other parts of the armor you want to talk to me about? And he said the belt of truth. He showed me as the belt of truth was like a fanny pack. And in the fanny pack was like hand sanitizer. And he was saying, because it goes with the season of the world, he's funny sometimes with me, but he says, the truth that you're sharing is going to kill all those germs, all those things, that all the plague that wants to come in our life. The truth is what sets us free from that. So, you know, we're speaking from truth. Obviously, the sword, God had already, you know, given her the word about the sword. So that's so exciting. Is it Angela? Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. So she got the sword part already, and the gospel of peace on her feet, you know. And so anyway, these are the things that he was showing me. I kind of feel like the Lord wanted us to receive that. And so if you're willing, you know, maybe even do a prophetic out, just open your arms and let him put his word down through your arms into your message. This morning, he showed me that at the end of the tip of that quill, some of us have a quill, like a flowery writing. Some of us have a keyboard, and it's a computer keyboard. Some of us have a piano keyboard. Some of us have paintbrushes or awls, or, you know, creativity comes in many ways, but the message is what he's giving you. It's his message that's coming from the mind of Christ. So in the name of Jesus, we just declare that, God, you have given us your mind. We receive and we will walk out what you've given us. And Lord, I just release those messages to go from our hands into our creative process, into the world, Lord. And I just thank you that you have given us what we need to take this message out there. So really that's what I feel like God gave me. And I really appreciate you letting me share. And I love you guys.
So good. We love
We
you.
love you too. We thank you for sharing that. I feel the weight on it.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know,
So good.
it's all tying in together this morning. It's so good. It's so powerful. And for us to put, you know, when we're dealing with the resistance, when we're dealing with the liars, when we're dealing with all that stuff, to put on the full armor of God.
Yeah.
You know, let's just suit up before we write up, right?
Yeah.
Let's just suit up before we put our hands to that, to the work. We have the authority. We've been given everything we need. And God is always so good to remind us of that.
Yeah.